3, water infrastructure bid approval. Adam?
We had your bid opening last Thursday. This is a project that we've been really talking about for 2.5 years, from starting with our asset management plan that's required by the state, amendments to our 3R to the water projects to know how are we upkeeping our infrastructure. Just like a home or a car, things have its useful life and they must be replaced. Many of our water lines are 80 years or more old. We know a lot of great areas. We did a lot of due diligence on identifying these areas that need to be replaced to continue to have good water service to our customers without disruption. Additionally, we have EPA mandates for lead service line replacements that we have taken a look and sent surveys out. We've identified some other areas with our water meters that need to be addressed. So this project's been talked about for a lot. We've been looking every way to minimize impact on the customers. Working with SRF, we've got some good news to share as far as that goes on some of the debt. And I'll run through kind of a list of the project areas, and then Jeremy can kind of say the bid results that we received. So we've got water main with services that needs to be replaced on State Road 114 west from Strauss-Ferdinand Road to State Road 13. So basically a good chunk of everything that's under the highway, west side of town. State Road 114 east from the bridge, which is being replaced, to the corporate limits, including 2nd Street extended. That area has been a problem child for many years of a lot of breaks there. State Road 114 west Main Street, from Elm Street to Heater, Wayne Street from Main to 5th Street, 5th Street from Wayne to East, East Street from 5th to College Avenue. And we have all new meter reading system through the whole entire town. So pretty encompassing project, but these are areas that will help build a good backbone for the distribution system, upsizing our water mains. In addition, we have a lot of small, inadequate water mains that do not provide enough fire protection service flow coming out of this hydrant. So this will greatly improve those areas that we have. So Jeremy would like to do the big results of that one project.
Yep. So this bid opening was just last week. We had 3 bidders, ranging from the low bid of $9,020,000 up to just around $12,700,000. So 3 bids. Our engineer investment was $9.5 million. So the low bid was just below that. The contractor that had the low bid was Atlas Excavating. I did ask internally. They were awarded a few projects with our Indy office, and they just completed the main water main install. Things went well, so they seem to be doing a pretty good job. So they seem like they're capable of performing the work. And what I would ask of the council tonight is accepting of the bid and issuing a notice of intent to award the projects, with the goal being awarding the next council meeting officially once we get all the post-bid documents necessary.
This project too was talked about at our public open house back on April 9th. They invited everybody to come and see the project areas, ask questions about what the project will be and how it could impact them. Anticipated start time would be maybe spring 26th.
So the loan closing is scheduled for November 12th. We have a 90-day period. This material will take a while. So the first part of the project, milestone 1, is starting at North Wayne, going north. That'll be starting roughly around February through the end of summer. And then no earlier than April 1st, the west section down here will start and will end in October. And then there'll be a gap in time just because of the bridge work. So we stay away from NDOT's contractor. And then we'll start back up April 2027 to finish the east section of town. And then we'll go for April, no earlier than April through July, August, depending on how quick they move.
I hear a motion for approval. Moved and seconded to accept the water infrastructure bid from Atlas. Any discussion?
I would like to point out to people that maybe have not been aware of this project, because we've seen that they've talked about it for a very long time. A lot of these improvements are not just pretty things. They're things that's for the safety of our own people who are going out in the dead of winter, fixing things that are breaking, underground pipes that are all of a sudden bubbling up. It's also in the long run going to save our water department money because they are losing water. You know, our old, I think Mother Man told me 100 years ago that we had pipes that are over 100 years old, and those things have to be replaced. Otherwise, they're costing us money. So the steps that we're taking are for the good of our people. It's going to save them money in the long run. It's painful, but all of us are paying the same increases. In the long run, it's going to save them money. It's better for our employees, and it's better for them. So spending money is not something to take lightly.
I'd like to commend the people who've been folks in the room, particularly those who are not in the room, who've been working on this project. Ryan and his crew, Adam and Terry and others, and our partner Commonwealth. Everybody has done their due diligence, as Adam said, and you know, this bid and this work is not a lot of fluff. It's stuff that's necessary, and just like anything that you own, that after a point in time you have to do things to keep it up. And this is what we're doing. So anyway, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you, Jeremy. Market Street Water Main Project bid approved. Adam?
Speaking on the same tune as the other project, the Market Street, South Market Street Bridge is being replaced by the county through a grant that they received. In doing so, we have to relocate our water main that is under the river, which is too close to the project area. We've been talking about this one for about 3 years. Design work and so forth has been delayed a few times by ODOT. Early on, obviously, we had a main break that is still broke by the river in a pretty difficult position to where right now we don't have the loop. We have water going out and around Pony Creek Road back up, but we don't have that loop again. Thankfully, within the contract, that the county is willing to pay for a good majority of the relocation costs. But we did have to bid this we had to bid under our contract, but then they'll reimburse us for that, just kind of how the parameters work. But we were fortunately only had one bidder, but it is something that have to be located by March of 2026 by the time they start demoing that bridge. That bridge bid came at $368,702. The Fox contracting, and they were the loan bid. It is about 120,000 over estimates. I don't know if it's because of timing, if they see some challenges with it, but essentially it's a board line all the way from right across the street from Mr. Dave's, probably 20 some feet deep by the time it hit the parking lot and go completely underneath the river and out the other side and make the connection. It'll be good in the long run to have it done. Obviously, we have one that's still existing now, but it was a project that we didn't initiate, but I think it will still be a benefit to have. And so we will see all the reimbursement we can from the county and whatever balance we'll come up with. So I would ask for a motion to approve Fox contracting. And I think they're still trying to get it done yet before the end of the year, before this cold is what I could.
Move approval?
Moved and seconded to approve the bid for the Market Street Water Main Project. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you. Water rate ordinance, general ordinance number 7 on first reading. Adam?
Do you want to read it first, Gary?
Sure.
That's one that can.
An ordinance amending the rates and charges for the use of and services rendered by the waterworks system of the town of North Manchester. Ordinance number 7, 2025. Whereas the town of North Manchester is the owner and operates a waterworks system furnishing water to said town, its inhabitants and users of the town's environs. And whereas the town council now finds the existing rates and charges for the use of and services rendered by the waterworks of said town are insufficient to produce sufficient revenue to pay for all of the necessary expenses incident to the operation of the utility, including maintenance costs, operating charges, upkeep, repairs, depreciation, legal expenses, interest charges on bonds, and other obligations. To provide a sinking fund for the liquidation of bonds and other obligations, to provide a debt service reserve for bonds and other obligations, to provide adequate funds for working capital, and provide funds for making extensions and replacements, and the existing rates and charges should be increased. Now therefore be it ordained by the town council of the town of North Manchester, there shall be and there is hereby established for the use of and services rendered by the waterworks system of the town of North Manchester, the schedule of rates and charges based on the use of water supplied by said waterworks system and set forth in Exhibit A attached hereto and incorporated herein by reference. Rates and charges are to users whose meter installation is outside corporate limits of the town of North Manchester shall be 150% of the rates and charges fixed on Exhibit A. That the rates herein approved shall provide for reasonable return on the water utility plan of the town of North Manchester and such other legal and necessary expenses as provided in IC 8 1.538. All ordinances and parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby repealed. The ordinance shall be in full force and effect from and after its passage.
Move approval?
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve on first reading general ordinance number 7, which is the water rate ordinance.
I'll go into more depth on it and hopefully I can answer some of their questions about what we're doing here. So as you just witnessed, we just approved a big project with the town. I think our debt will end up being about $9.5 million that we'll have to have an obligation. Good news out, it was going to be about 12.5. Thankfully through the SRF, the state program, was unexpected. They gave us a $3 million forgivable loan when they gave our package. Even to go to more extent, they said that we would receive the lowest interest or lower interest in the traditional loan program versus the pool fund. We were able to qualify. We have 10 communities that applied from over 100. We scored within that fund range, and so we're going to get a better rate than most others that have applied. So we're grateful for that because they can consider the impact it would have on the constituents that would have. And so there's a small $400,000 piece that will be interest free because we're replacing the light service line. So those are all good news that we got from the state. And I don't know if you're familiar with SRF, that's about as low of interest rates that you can get. So we went that route, things like Commonwealth, good relationship with them and trying to work through the process and helping them get us the best package that we can. So in general, looking at kind of what those rates are, we have a schedule of rates that you can share with those that the proposed rates. Currently, as a minimum 5 base rate 3/4 meter, the rate for 3,000 gallons is $25.63 for water. It's only just for water. It will increase as of right now about $15 for $40.89. That could still go down because SRF won't release their newest rates until October 1. Yeah, I know what rates will do. So there is a little bit of added interest rates for these that will in anticipation that it would go up, but there's a chance that it could lower some. So that's in general. There's different classifications of what those will fall in different meter size. One thing that we did do and had in place for a while, and Valerie may know about this, the tiered system. The more water you use, the more discount you get. That is something that when our financial advisors, they could try to look at, and they said, we give huge discounts to large volume users. And that's not really something that's seen as much anymore, that much. So what that does is puts more of the financial burden on the residents and not the heavy users. The town council, we considered what others are doing and thought that we need to kind of level the playing field a little bit. So we did cost of service analysis, and they determined that too much was on the residents. So we're shifting some of that burden back on the larger users. Still a tiered system. We're going from a 6 tiers to 3, but they're a lot tighter. For example, right now, a 3,000 gallon user, the first 3 is $8.54 per 1,000 gallons. And if you use over 200,000, you're down to $4.25. It's almost a half the cost of the users. The new rate will have $6.85 for the first 9,000 gallons, and anything over 200 is $6.31. So very similar costs, kind of leveling that out. So more of the rate increase will hit the larger users more than what the residents were. So most of the increase is to cover the bond debt that we have incurred with the project. I mentioned about the public open housing. We talked about this project, so we've been talking about it for a while. Back in 2023, we updated our asset management plan to qualify for SRF funding. Now you must have an up-to-date asset management plan, which essentially says you know where all your useful life is on all your equipment and all your plant and all your utility pipes. What you're going to do about replacing them? You can't sit on that. If you don't have an asset management plan and you're making an effort to do it, they are not going to give you low rates. You have to do it in the bond market and pay higher rates. So we had to do those things required us to get eligible for SRF money. So we did that, updated that, and then we had a PR that kind of said, what are our infrastructure, whether it's the treatment plant, what do we need to do to make those, and then we need to do those. So really following our asset management plan to replace those that we've identified as critical, and we need to be doing something about that. The project, again, is about 2 miles worth of state water main. 2 miles is a small amount of water main because we've probably got roughly 30 miles. So we're taking a small light out of it, but we've looked at every areas and talked to the water department. Where's all our water main breaks at? When they're doing those breaks, what's the condition of the pipe as you see it? Maps of the node, which has more areas, 1965 pipe that's more breaking more than others. I'm not sure what's wrong with that material. We know where fire flow is not good. We have a hydraulic study on checking fire flows several years ago. We know what 4-inch mains are not providing water, adequate fire suppression from those hydrants. So we're upsizing to make sure we get that fire flow, which should hopefully help with insurance rates in the homes. Replacing our lead and galvanized services, that's a mandate. We have to be taking steps to replace those as we find them. So we're replacing any that we have identified along this 2 mile stretch that we know need to be replaced. And that will be a benefit to homeowners who have that, and they can opt in to have us replace those, and some could opt out. But I think we only had one that didn't respond, and everybody else, once they're replaced, as we're required to replace them. The automatic reach system. I know this is something a lot of communities have been switching to our current system, and Ryan can probably speak to this. It's been a headache. We're running out of technology that can support the meters that we have in the reading system. Probably still the same system, and maybe you're working in town.
Well, we talked about the readers for about 20 years ago.
Yes. And so we've been borrowing guns from other communities to get us by, these guns that do the readings and the handhelds, and it's not even being supported now. And I think we're down to what, 2 that still work, 3 maybe?
We had nine guns at one point, of which most of those were borrowed. We have 2 left to still work. So, but the technology we have isn't supported, so we can't get it fixed.
So we're on our last leg of that. So we're making the transition to this automatic read where the ladies at the office, and I've included some papers in the packet as well, what the new reading system can do, where they get a reading a report every morning, and it will say who might have potential leak in their house, who has a pipe burst, and it's amazing what we're finding with customers. And I'll give one example I was going to talk about later, but we had a customer, a business owner on Main Street that Jessica, our office lady, had an alert that said possible leak in the house. And it was like 40 gallons an hour was what was leaking. So she called him up and said, it appears that we just had a leak, started yesterday. It's using way more gallons than used the whole night, overnight. I assume he wouldn't be at the business then. This individual looked around and said, oh, I went to the basement. I did use that toilet. The toilet was running in the basement. He said, I never use that, but one time a month. Had we not caught it and told him that next day, he would have had another 30 days of leaking water that he would have had to pay several $100s worth of water bill. And we would have said, sorry, we can't help you. And every day we're seeing that, and that just saved him hundreds of dollars by notifying him, and he thanked us for it. And so we're finding those things, and we feel like it's going to be a customer service to help the customers and also help do work tickets, readouts, all those things that our guys are doing manually, the different system. And then you can give data if somebody wants to see a 30-day readout of what the water usage is or on this date. We can do that, print it out and show them what that is. So it's really not when did this water leak happen? We can probably point it out to them. We found a couple of hoses on. People showed that their water jumped up and they found that their hose on the full bore. So that's some of the benefits of this meter reading system that we have. And it won't take 2 guys 4 days to read the meters anymore. They can do other things that they are finding to do now. But following around the meter replacement guy and then consistently find and so forth. So those are some of the big items that we're replacing with this $9 million, and then ultimately going into a rate increase that we're doing. Additional structure, talk about fire protection fees. This is not necessarily for the fire department. When we talk to Baker Tilly, our financial advisor, a lot of communities are showing, like right now, our fire protection costs are baked into the one water utility bill. When you look at a water system, hydrants are out there, have to have water that flows to them. If we only had to serve for just drinking water and uses in residential homes, we could probably get away with a 2-inch line down those streets and just tie them off. We don't. We have 6, 8, 10, and 12-inch mains because you have to have that size to flow adequate fire protection water to the areas that need it. So we have to maintain larger size infrastructure. We have to have more water tower space. We have to have more pressure to all the different parts of the town, particularly at the university that has fire sprinkler systems, have to have a certain PSI to work properly. All those things go into maintaining it, even though it might not be something that used until it's disaster. So that does come at a cost to maintain things, more volume. So we're pulling out, Baker Tilly said this is a cost of service to maintain. What they're saying is fire protection increases to the system. And so that's that flat rate is saying to maintain a 12-inch main, it's going to cost X amount over time. And then you have a consumption rate. So the new bill will be broken into two. There'll be a consumption amount, which for example will be $20.55 for the 5/8 meter minimum. Then you'll have a $20.34 for the 5/8 meter for protection service. Both of those combined will be the $40 ish rate. The 20 fire protection will be the flat rate. It will not go up. That's a standard every month. The consumption will go up and down depending on what your use is from $20. So that's how we have that new rate structure, which Huntington's doing it. I saw it recently. Baker Tilly here next month. They can talk about what they're seeing around the state, but we're just trying to identify this protection. In addition to, you mentioned about the general fund paying for this property taxes.
No, it's not the general fund. It's our property tax. We're paying for fire protection. Okay. But what I'm talking about is where is the water improvement funds? I'm not being able to find any of those funds anymore.
What the balance of it is?
Yeah, every month, I mean, every month I had to move money
Yeah.
to like the improvement, the debt services and everything from each fund. You know, for the water department, the wastewater department, the improvement, I mean, for, there's another one. But anyway, I had to move those and those were building up. And then when you had to do an improvement, John would have me transfer those funds into the water department. Because we're doing a water main or something.
I can love to sit down with you and show the numbers. I think right now, between operating and improvement fund, we have about $750,000 combined. Now, if we're to save $9 million,
Yeah.
it would take a while, but we still have to raise rates to save that much amount of money. So we're doing that through the debt service. But I can sit down with you and show you everything we have. I can tell you since 2020, materials have went up 30 to 40% on everything we bought. So it's pretty hard to save that money, particularly with all the prices on stuff. So.
Well, I know that we're trying to bring people into our town, okay? We've got our schools, we've got good school systems, we don't have a whole lot of industry. But if you keep raising these utilities and stuff, people are gonna say, why should I move there when I can go to Huntington? Or I can go to Rowan, or I can go to Akron, or over to Peru. I mean, there's been several people put up their houses just this past week.
I would love to have a conversation with you
Okay.
since this is part of the
For the town
agenda.
council. I'm sorry, go
Please
ahead.
stop by the town hall and I'd love to spend the time with you and talk about those things.
Okay.
Next meeting, Baker Tilly will be here to explain what's happening across the state.
Okay.
And broad view of that and kind of what they found on the study. So, but in the meantime, stop by town hall or call me and we can.
I'll make that point of it.
So that's kind of the basis over the water rates. And we did also, part of this adjustment, like I said, the general fund, new property tax was paying the municipal hydrant rental. We're not going to do that from property tax now. We're just moving that fee amount to this property or the fire protection. So that will essentially move since SB1 had changed some of the funding. We're not going to have the general fund pay towards that. The rate payers will pay that now wholly through the rates, not through property taxes. So that's the general update on rates.
We have a motion and a second. And as I said earlier on another situation, this is the first reading. It takes 3 readings to pass an ordinance. So we'll be considering the second reading in October. If this first reading passes, we'll be considering the second reading in October and the third reading in November. As I said, if it passes each time. I just want to say that the amount of work, again, I'm going to say it, the amount of work that's gone into studying all of this and making determinations about what needs to be done, not everything that wants to be done, but the things that need to be done, things that are going to improve. And I would say that having good infrastructure, it actually draws people. We have good infrastructure, and I think that when Baker Tilly comes, I think they'll be able to tell us that our rates are currently much lower than a lot of communities and even communities that surround us. So anyway, any other comments before we vote? All in favor of General Ordinance number 7 on first reading, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you. Sewer Use Ordinance Amendments, General Ordinance 8 on first reading.